Pants have pockets because we like to carry things with us on a regular basis. Boom. Question answered. However, if we look at the history of pockets and how they've evolved and changed over time, it's a fascinating insight to us as people and how culture and society has changed over time. First, the word pocket itself is derived from the word poke, and a poke is a pouch or a bag. This word apparently has Scottish origins, but yet another source mentioned that it came from the French word pouk. I don't know, I don't speak French. I just know the last bit is rarely ever pronounced in French words. Someone can correct me. And then yet another source said it is being used in the south of the US still. And this is a good indication of what the research was like in general. It was very varied and diverse, and different people had different things to say. I mean, we do all wear clothes. There's a lot of us, so it is a complex history, but I've tried my best to string it all together into a narrative that I think makes sense. In the English language, when something is small, we add et at the end. And so if we combine poke and et, we get poket. Well, you see where I'm going with this, hence pockets. My name is Cornelius Quiring. That's my logo. That's my word mark. Oh, it's like I'm a designer. But let's dig into the history of pockets.
Pockets started out as these little bags or pouches that people would use to carry around the everyday items that they needed. And these could be very simple, very functional items, or they could be more ornate and fancy, and they were usually worn around the hips, either tied on with just good old-fashioned string, or the more fancy folks who would clip on their ornate little pouches like this fella right here. Something that people would quite commonly be carrying in these pockets is their cash, or more specifically the coins that they had. And if everyone's got them strapped around their waist, well, if you're in need of a few shekels, you know where to go. And so this is where we get pickpockets, who, as the name suggests, were picking those pockets for some coins. In fact, there was a new term introduced at the time for these ne'er-do-wells. They were called cut purses. To solve for this issue, people started wearing their pockets underneath their clothing instead. A fantastic solution, because these cut purses now had no clue where said pockets were. But of course that also makes it more difficult and not as easily accessible for the wearer themselves, which, well, a pocket's meant to be easily accessible. And so clothing started to have slits added to them so that the wearers could put their hands in and out and access their pockets more easily. Now, you know what would make these pockets even more accessible? If said pocket underneath the clothing was actually attached to the slit in the clothes themselves. Hence, so pocket to clothing, and, well, yeah, I'm not the first person to come up with this. This is the idea that they came up with way back in the day, and hence how we end up at the very pockets that we have on our clothes today. Like just about everything else that we do as human beings, the story of our pant pockets is very much a case of action and reaction. One thing caused another, which then caused another, so on and so forth. And now this is just my theory here, but I think the reason why our pockets are at the very top of our hips is a direct result of having tied these pouches around our waists. They were hanging off our belts down onto the top of our hips, and in the same way, our pant pockets are at the very top by our waists. As the pockets were now sewn on, in theory they could have been put anywhere on the pant, and yet the exact location they ended up was the same one where the pouches used to hang off the belts. interesting little tidbit. It's the invention of the pocket that then gives us words like pocket knife, for example. Before that, you had a big knife, you had a medium-sized knife, you had a small knife. But now, because of pockets, if you say, oh, I have a pocket knife, it indicates that you have a small little knife. Another one is pocket money, which indicates that you're carrying a small amount of cash on you. Not a whole lot, but enough to fit in the pouch that is your pocket. But back to the pant pockets, and because they're now sewn on, in theory, they could go anywhere. They don't need to just be around the hips. Ye olde day folks had the same idea, and pockets started to migrate north into the coats that men would wear. And oh boy, did they go pocket crazy. There was a pocket exclusively for watches, hence pocket watches. There was a pocket that was used just for tickets. Now, fun little thing about these ticket pockets, again, is that they have a flap over top, which was meant for when you were outdoors. The flap was out and over top to protect the paper inside in case it rains or something like that. And then when that pocket was no longer in use, in fact, it was customary to tuck that flap inside of the pocket for a bit of a cleaner look. At this time, you also get patch pockets on the outside of coats, which were often used by the hunting folks because it made things like shells more easily accessible. And because of all these coat pockets, in fact, there was only one set of pockets on pants, and those were right in the side seams to slide your hands in. Workwear, on the other hand, was slightly different. They did have those patch pockets in the back, thanks to Mr. Levi Strauss. However, it was only on the right-hand side. Most folks are right-handed. It makes it easy for people who are working and need to carry extra tools to just reach back and grab what they need and use accordingly, put back once done. And in the beginning, jeans only had one patch pocket on the back right-hand side. It was only later on that another back pocket was added to the left side. So we refer to that little coin pocket in the front as the fifth pocket, but actually the back left-hand pocket is truly the fifth pocket on a pair of jeans. Clothes in general were getting a little bit more form-fitting roughly around this time period for both men and women, hence why men's clothing had so many pockets for these different niche uses. In terms of women's clothing, there wasn't pockets put in. Instead, this is where purses and handbags get invented.
And boom, that is my front pockets all done. Now, I've had the pleasure, or should I say privilege, of taking my time to research pant pockets thanks to Craftsy for sponsoring this video. Craftsy offers over 2,000. That's right, 2,000. Inspiring classes for creative makers like you and I. I'm going to take an educated guess here and say you're into sewing and making your own clothes. Well, in that case, I recommend Susie Furr's class, which will teach you how to copy your favorite garments that you already own. Me personally, I've been finding myself interested in quilting lately. And so I've been watching Ashley Huff and Penny Barnes' Let's Make a Quilt series, season 2. And in particular, there's this subtle star quilt that they make. Perfection. The first 1,000 people to click the link down in the description will get 1 year's full premium membership to Craftsy for $1.49. That's right, over 2,000 premium classes for a year for $1.49. A moment of honesty. This whole exercise in sharing the history of pant pockets has actually been one giant Trojan horse to hopefully get you to join me on a journey that I've been on lately. And that is rethinking the pockets on my pants. As societies and cultures have changed, so have the clothes these folks have been wearing, and as a part of that, the pockets in and on and around them. I would argue we've recently gone through another shift. We have computers, and many folks, like myself, are sitting in front of them all day, click-clacking away for work. We've also started carrying around these puppies everywhere we go. That's my script, by the way. And these things, they just don't make any sense in the front pockets. I mean, you put it in, and it's right by the bendy part of the leg, so it's like hitting there all the time. No good. I mean, alternatively, it could be like down here somewhere, but then we've got big old loose pockets just to be able to make it go further down, and I don't like that idea either. I still like my front pockets though. Great for putting keys in, loose change. I'll stuff my hands in if it gets a little bit chilly, for example. So front pockets, they're staying as they are. The other option, of course, is I can put it in my back pocket, which is fine for when I'm walking around, but of course the second I want to sit down and have a seat, it gets a little awkward back there. Same thing goes for the wallet. So realistically, I have no use for the back pockets. They got to take a hike. And that's when I realized, why don't I put it on the side of my leg? I mean, it's a nice flat area, perfect in terms of reaching height. I can sit there, I can sit down, stand up. It's the perfect place. I'm basically making cargo pockets on the side of my pants and then scrapping the back ones. Oh, and also, I'm going to make them a little bit more narrow because I only need it as wide as my phone and my wallet, so no need for anything massive. Which is also why I cut this little divot here so that I can have the pocket right below without actually having to sew over top of this front pocket here like I did with another pair of my pants a while back.
These little side pockets that I've got going on here really remind me of an elegant cargo pocket. So, while I finish off my shorts here, why don't I tell you a little bit about how they play into the history of pant pockets. It turns out that militaries also really liked the idea of patch pockets on coats, so they adopted them, but they needed a little bit more volume, so they added an extra strip of fabric around, and hence we get the cargo pocket. And from here, the cargo pocket then heads south back down onto the pants again, completing the journey back home, if you will. And we have the Brits to thank for that. Specifically the paratroopers who used them first, and then eventually it was expanded out to the army as well. And this all happened just before World War II. And boom, all done. Hopefully you've been able to learn something new about the pockets on the pants you wear, and well, I've managed to sneak in a brand new pair of shorts for myself, so win-win. In fact, Editing Corn, let's show off these beauties a little bit. Some glamour shots, please. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate you watching what I'm putting out there. And if you're interested in this, check out my channel. I've got all kinds of clothing making related videos. There's a whole bunch of links down in the description to the various things that I've got going on and are a great way to support what I'm offering here. And if you've got some pocket facts that you think are worth adding to the conversation, please share them in the comments below. Gracias. Now, closing, Corn, editing Corn, some sort of a closing, finish us out here. Okay, bye.